Multiple states still in play, but the former vice president has a lead in 4 of them. Where is your head right now and your heart?
The math says that Joe Biden will be our president-elect in a matter of minutes, hours at the most. And I am so excited that we are closing the book on the Trump era and giving our country a real chance to recover on so many levels. So thrilled for us all, America. Trump is on the way out. Joe is on the way in. This is a wrap. It's going to be called in a matter of moments.
Okay, so I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we are waiting. You know, there was some momentum this morning. It felt like there was going to be a projection, and it feels like we're in the same place. You know, the ballot count has been slow. The president has been mounting these legal challenges in various states. How, you know, let's say it is Joe Biden. How does he even begin to lead when this country is so divided?
Oh, it's a taller task because he's going to be inheriting what looks like it could be a divided government. Emily, the Senate is still potentially up for grabs, but the challenges grow because if Mitch McConnell is still the Senate majority leader, then he and Joe will literally be hashing out what is going to be possible. We need a much more robust approach to helping our economy, our people recover from both the coronavirus and the accompanying recession and the millions of lost jobs. So I hope that Mitch ends up seeing reason and seeing that we should be doing much more for our people if that is the situation where he and Joe are working together.
Now, as you launched your new Humanity Forward campaign, you said that even if Joe Biden wins, we have lost something important. What do you mean by that?
This was not a mandate. This was not a sweeping victory for Democrats. Democrats in the House actually lost 7 incumbent seats, which was not what they expected. And part of that is because we have not been taking care of our people during this pandemic. We got $1,200 checks back in April. Now it's November. So my new campaign is championing cash relief for the people during the next 6 months of the pandemic so that people will be able to feed their families, buy gas for their cars, keep a roof over their head. And that's the kind of thing that, frankly, we should have been doing the whole time.
So what would the role of Congress be in making what you believe needs to happen?
Well, Congress authorized the $2.2 trillion CARES Act, and now they have to figure out what the second relief package looks like. And 82% of Americans agree with me that we should have cash relief front and center because that money is going to flow right back into local small businesses, keep them open. And it has to be an act of Congress that makes this happen, Emily. So I'm thrilled to have hopefully an opportunity to get a second relief package out the door. Again, it should have happened months ago.
Should that relief come in the form of payments to individuals or small businesses or assistance to state and local governments?
It's all of the above. I mean, we have a multi-trillion-dollar hole in our economy. To me, the most urgent thing we can do, though, is get money directly in the hands of families because 8 million Americans have fallen into poverty. I was in touch with someone who runs a gig worker company that sees the financial picture of tens of thousands of gig workers, and all of their prospects are dimming quickly. So it's urgent that we get money directly in the hands of families, but we should also have programs to support both small businesses and local governments. This is a crisis that has unfortunately been growing instead of getting better.
So besides the financial assistance, what else do you believe Congress needs to do?
There is so much. That's one reason why, again, we're so excited to have Joe as our new president. But front and center right now is anything that helps shore up the economy, create pathways for people to be able to pay their bills. So that's cash relief. I know Joe is going to want to champion an infrastructure package that will go through Congress and create hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of jobs. We obviously have to try to get the coronavirus under better control through a combination of public health measures and sending resources to some of these city and state governments that are struggling to protect their people or even reopen schools because in some cases they don't have the proper PPE or funds. So there are so many things that we have to do as soon as possible. We're way behind the curve. And again, thrilled that it's going to be Joe signing these acts into law.
We know the Biden team has been playing out a possible transition for a while. Would you be able to accomplish these goals more efficiently with a role in the Biden administration? Has the Biden team talked to you about taking a role?
Right now, they're laser focused on making sure that that Joe.
Tell me, Andrew. Tell me.
But I've been on the record saying that if they offer me an opportunity to solve some of the problems I ran on, Emily, I would take it. And as you know, some of those issues involve technology, where I think the government has been way behind the curve on so many technology-related issues, including social media and its effect on our democracy, the use of our data. And thank you, California, for passing Prop 24. So at least California is making progress on our data rights. So there are so many things in technology that I feel like we should be doing better. And it may be that I can lend a hand with the new administration on that front.
Prop 24, which I know you emphatically supported, creates a state agency to enforce privacy protections, gives people more control over their own data. Do you think the folks in Washington, do Joe Biden and Kamala Harris understand enough the gravity of the issues facing the tech industry and what needs to be done?
Well, that's one reason I'm so grateful to Californians, because what's happening right now is that the folks in California are going to have, as you suggest, a dedicated agency to help protect your data rights. And then other states are going to look up and say, wait a minute, why is that in California, not here in Pennsylvania or Washington or New York? And then eventually the federal government and Congress will look at it and say, well, what are states doing? And maybe we should have a national approach. So in this case, you can lead from the states, and California, as usual, first to get it done, but not the last. You're going to see more measures like this around the country.
Biden hasn't detailed his thoughts on antitrust yet, and we know that big tech is under a lot of scrutiny from both sides of the aisle. How Facebook and Twitter moderate the conversations in the days and weeks ahead is going to be in the spotlight. How do you think a Biden administration should move forward when it comes to big tech?
I think our legal frameworks when it comes to big tech are just way out of date, Emily. They're using antitrust and censorship when those issues may not actually address some of the things I described about the use of our data, the effects of social media on the mental health of our kids. I know you're a parent like I am, and data, unfortunately, is showing pretty clearly that that there are surges in anxiety and depression among younger users of social media. So there are a lot of things that we can hopefully make progress on, and I think Joe has really strong instincts in this direction. But the legal frameworks just don't exist properly right now. Antitrust was created essentially for like oil barons and railroads. Heck, even Section 230 was written in 1996 before Facebook existed. So this is just another example of how Congress is using a very limited tool set. And in my opinion, they need some more modern tools.
Do you think big tech should be broken up? Is that the road you're going down?
Well, I think that, again, that like having a one-size-fits-all framework does not make sense when you have companies that are unprecedented in their impact and scope. So what I would suggest is that you look at each of the giants individually, Facebook, Google in particular, and you figure out what are the issues you're most concerned about. And then you tailor legislation to try and curb any excesses or abuses. So to me, that isn't like a break them up kind of impulse, though I do think there should be some divestiture of some business units. I also think there should be some curbs on acquisition, because we all know, Emily, or at least you and I know, and everyone watching this knows, that the business model in Silicon Valley now is not to somehow say we're going to be the next Facebook or we're going to be the next Google. It's just to get bought by them. And that's bad for innovation. It's bad for consumers over time. So there should be rules in that direction. But I'm not someone who is going to take a 20th century approach to 21st century problems.
Would you like to see let's say it is Joe Biden, bring back a U.S. chief technology officer, in 18F initiatives, focus more on the digital service to modernize the government?
Yes to all of the above. I think it was a worthy addition of the Obama administration. Trump let it languish. Obviously, didn't care that much. But I think Joe should bring back those roles and make them much more well-resourced and robust. I believe there should be a location in the Bay Area too, so that some of your friends and mine who want to solve some of these problems don't feel like they have to move to DC. They can just show up at the it won't be that swanky because it's not like a tech company, but it hopefully won't be depressing like the Bay Area office, and then you can solve some of the problems that are growing and affecting our kids. So that's something that I think should come under either 18F, the U.S. Digital Service, but we need to give some more technologists the chance to actually provide some kind of public service without going through the crazy red tape and all the rigmarole that many techies right now fear if they decide to raise their hand and say they'd consider public service.
All right. We are still waiting for the votes to be counted, but President Trump has made it clear that he will not go quietly. If indeed the race is called for Joe Biden, what do you anticipate the transition of power, if there is a transition of power, will look like?
Oh, there'll be a transition. And the Biden campaign put it ably, where they said the U.S. government is perfectly capable of escorting a trespasser off of the White House premises. And that's the way this is going to go down. Everyone knows that Trump's lawsuits are ridiculous and baseless. That like literally they're saying like, hey, give us some more time to figure out what it is we're angry about. Because everyone can see that we're just counting these votes. You have Republican election officials saying, look, we're just counting the votes. So the other thing is that this isn't even that close in terms of individual states. Like Joe has so many, he's going to win 4 of these states, and Pennsylvania alone would do it. So these lawsuits, in my opinion, are going to go nowhere. They might be amplified by some partisan media outlets, but most Americans will move on. Like Joe Biden is going to be our president-elect in a matter of minutes. That's going to be reality. And Donald Trump's ability to create an alternative reality is evaporating. And I, for one, cannot be happier.